And here we have another 5-minute, hopefully to the point video. But the thing is, with this topic, I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to break it down in 5 minutes. But let's see. It is called The Timeless Beauty of Pre-Rendered Graphics. And yes, absolutely gorgeous. Love them. You know, me as a Resident Evil or like a survival horror lover, you know, a little bit of a shame that they didn't include like RE1 Remake, for example, or RE0, which have some of the most beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds ever.
When I look back at the PC games of the late 90s and early 2000s, there's a distinct visual style that I believe truly stands the test of time. It's when the game employs pre-rendered graphics paired with an isometric perspective. Curious about what that looks like? Here, let me show you.
Okay, this is specifically about the isometric pre-rendered games, about the top-down ones. Okay, because pre-rendered games, again, can also be Resident Evil, for example. The first ones, at least. This is a very distinct style, and I kind of love it. Beautiful. Ah, Diablo 2, let's go! Right, also the Fallout games. Never even heard of this Robin Hood one. Wait. Is this Robin Hood game good? I've never heard of it. Just based on how it looks and based on the name, I would be down to play this one. Is it any good? Does anyone know this one?
Is it just me, or do these games look just as beautiful as they did over 20 years ago?
They do, and that is crazy because many games tried very hard to look extra good, to use the new technologies. Oh my god, 3D, but from today's perspective, they just look like shit. Alone in the Dark, for example, to name another survival horror example, or many more. But this, I feel like, looks timeless. Of course, it could probably do with a remaster, like it looks a little, you know, low res. But other than that, it looks beautiful and I love it.
Over 20 years ago. The rich details, the handcrafted feel and level of cohesion all culminate into one of my favorite aesthetics of that era. Where did this style come from, you might ask? Well, allow me to explain. Back in the late 90s, real-time 3D graphics were still in its infancy. These early games were usually pixelated, lacked details and suffered low frame rates. Rendering complex scenes in real time requires a lot of processing power and memory, which many computers at the time simply didn't have.
It's so weird to see someone play a first-person shooter with only the keyboard and not the mouse, not even using the mouse, but it makes sense for something like Doom.
Requires a lot of processing power and memory, which many computers at the time simply didn't have. To achieve a higher level of fidelity, developers thought of a solution. They'd create highly detailed environments, characters and objects, then render them on powerful PCs as static images or sequences of images. All assets were created with a fixed isometric perspective. This means they are viewed diagonally from above. Despite their static nature, isometric pre-rendered graphics can create the illusion of depth.
Isometric does not only mean directly from above, like diagonally from above. It also means that there is no real perspective. There is no... Oh my god, how do I describe it? When you view something in perspective or draw something in perspective, the further it is away, the smaller it gets. That is not the case with isometric views. Everything is the exact same size, which also creates a unique style, because it is unnatural. But in these isometric games, it looks fitting. It doesn't look unnatural.
Diagonally from above.
Wouldn't that be voxel? Isn't voxel something else?
Despite their static nature, isometric pre-rendered graphics can create the illusion of depth and three-dimensionality through clever use of shading, lighting and perspective.
Like you can see it right here. This house is the exact, like, has the exact same dimensions as this one back here for... Oh, wait, you don't see it. This one, for example, has the exact same dimensions, like the roof here, the front of the roof, like this triangle here, this arrow here, has the exact same size as this one, even though this one is clearly further away.
Techniques. Since these games didn't require rendering most or any of their assets in real time, developers could pack them with far more detail than the true 3D counterparts. This particular art style was most prominently
Here as well, you can see every single tower. If you just look at that rectangle, at that like square, you can see it is the exact same size all over, even though realistically it wouldn't be because of perspective. That is what isometric, that is another thing that makes isometric unique, isometric views unique. It's also a tool to help with 3D modeling to have things truly in correct sizes, whatever, but that's a whole nother thing.
particular art style was most prominently seen in role-playing, strategy and management games. I'd say the golden age started with the first Diablo in 1997 and ended around the start of 2003 with SimCity 4. Occasionally, you'd still stumble upon a game using this art style, but by the end of 2004 it had largely become obsolete. Which leads me to the question, why was this technique mostly abandoned by the mid-2000s?
Probably because 3D was now a big thing. Consoles also, well, you know, consoles were also always big, right? I want to say consoles now became much bigger. PS2 was massively popular, even though that was early 2000s. Yeah, I don't know. Isometric projection is in the family. Orthographic! Oh my god, I'm so sorry, CRJ. Yes, you're right. Orthographic was the... right. Perspective versus orthographic. It wasn't isometric. You're right. Isometric is this specific one, right? Yeah, never mind. I meant orthographic, yeah.
The whole reason this technique was used in the first place was due to hardware limitations. However, as we entered the mid-2000s, rapid advancements in new graphics hardware and rendering techniques emerged. These advancements made it possible to render 3D graphics in real time that didn't look like a slideshow.
It's pretty clean, smooth-looking animation, considering, I mean, compared to the Doom type stuff.
It is not, though. Isn't Doom like... What? Didn't Doom always run super well? What is this? This is laggy as shit. How can you say pretty smooth looking animation compared to the Doom type stuff? I mean, okay, look. I think I see what he... Wait. Because Doom was ran very smooth. You could move very, very smoothly, but the animations, like the shooting, the reloading, was only a handful of frames. It was just to bring across the... I think that's what they mean. And yeah, compared to that, yeah, this has more frames. But overall, the frame rate is super low, and it's a much bigger chore to play.
It's pretty clean, smooth-looking animation, considering, I mean, compared to the Doom type stuff.
Oh, how the times have changed. Another reason for the switch to 3D is the limitation of pre-rendered graphics in terms of interactivity and adaptability. As games evolved to become more complex, the use of pre-rendered graphics became increasingly impractical. The same applied to the development of pre-rendered graphics. If you wanted to change an asset, you couldn't simply tweak it, you had to fully re-render it. Being able to tweak a model within a couple of clicks meant developers could work a lot faster.
True, that's also why procedural 3D modeling is so up and coming right now with... God, I hate Houdini, but I had to learn it. I had to learn it a bit. It is an amazing tool. It gives you even more flexibility with 3D models, with, you know, the modeling that I do, just the classic normal like 3D modeling that's also being shown here. You have a lot of freedom, but with procedural modeling, you can effectively create many different things in a fraction of that time. Just due to the nature of it, because you can just change things on the fly. You can also create many different varieties. Like, you can, for example, with one thing, you create one setup, like one procedural model, and out of that you can make like a raft, for example, with a bunch of, like, for example, you know, a bunch of planks. You can make a raft. You can make a door that consists of so many different planks that have so much variety between them. You can make less planks that are like higher, or you can turn them around to make them tall. Make a door, you can make a raft, you can make something else, whatever. You can make a bench, for example. You know, if you click the checkbox that adds two things on the bottom of it, you can create a bench, for example, whatever. It's super versatile. And I guess that is what the 3D modeling that I'm used to is compared to these isometric, these pre-rendered ones.
You're inclined to think that was it for the aesthetic, right? Well, I'm happy to report it's made a bit of a comeback, especially in the indie scene.
So did pre-rendered backgrounds.
It seems I'm not the only
Well, I mean the Resident Evil type
one who still adores that pre-rendered look. Obsidian Entertainment released a game called Pillars of Eternity in 2015, developed by CRPG veterans like Josh Sawyer, Tim Kaine and Chris Avallone.
CRPG, in case someone doesn't know, it's like the Diablo type game.
Obsidian would drop 2 more games in this graphical style with Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity Deadfire.
Wait, no,
Another-
that was ARPG, right? CRPG were the Baldur's Gate type things, the turn-based ones, the slower ones, right?
By CRPG veterans like Josh Sawyer, Tim Kaine, and Chris Avallone. Obsidian would drop 2 more games in this graphical style with Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity Deadfire. Another relatively recent game with an amazing pre-rendered art style is
True, it does look great.
Disco Elysium.
Didn't even think of that one.
In this game, they went for a more painting-like aesthetic. Next up are the Brotherhood's games. They are an indie studio that made 4 adventure games in this style, called Kane, Stasis, Beautiful Desolation, and Stasis Bone Totem.
Oh, didn't even know Stasis got a sequel. I know of Stasis. I'm not sure if it's on my wishlist or not, but I know of Stasis. Oh, I have Stasis apparently, but I've never played it. Look, I have 2,000 games on Steam, okay? Sometimes you lose track of what you have and what you don't.
Then there are also games that keep the isometric perspective but don't use pre-rendered graphics and go for hand-drawn sprites instead, like all of Supergiant's games. Alongside all of these new releases, a lot of classic games have received the remaster treatment. This allows people to enjoy these timeless games on modern machines.
And that is amazing that these games get remastered, because these textures look much more crisp, look much more nice, look much more modern. That is exactly what I was asking for earlier, right? Because yes, the pre-rendered graphics look good, but these games are over 20 years old. The resolution was much lower back then. So it's nice that they got an upgrade.
And man, do they look beautiful on there. It's a testament of why hardware and budget limitations can produce some incredible art. In a world where AAA studios relentlessly pursue photorealism, nothing inherently wrong with that of course, I'm happy to see the preservation of these older games and the passing of the torch to create new ones.
I agree.
I've compiled a list of my favorite games in this style.
Baldur's Gate 2, nice. What about How to Survive? Is that also pre-rendered? I'm not sure. That's also a zombie game, but it's also like a top-down... Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Never mind, yeah. But no, it's also a top-down kind of game. It's not really a survival game. It's called How to Survive, but it is kind of linear, kind of story-focused as far as I remember, but it does have these survival elements. I really liked it because I am actually a fan of top-down games like this. Whenever I see this kind of style, I'm immediately turned on. Well, not sexually. I immediately want to play it. I am a fan of these kinds of games. I just don't play them very much, but I'm a fan of them. It's always nice to see that it's still a thing.
That I think deserve your attention. Feel free to pause the video if you need to.
But I know of Desperados, of course. I know of the Commandos games, Stronghold. Sims and SimCity was never really my thing. Looks a little too modern for me, you know? Something like Baldur's Gate with this fantasy aesthetic, I think that lends itself super well to that art style. Not a fan of the roller coaster tycoon type things, like the modern things. Diablo 2, of course, my baby, my beloved. I would love to play it again. Anno 1602, nice. Fallout 2, nice.
Of course, there are plenty more games that use this art style, but this is a nice place to start. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me ramble on about video game art. If you want to see
Of course, anytime. It was only 5 minutes long, come on.
more retrospective content like this, I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video.
Honestly, let me check out that channel. I'm curious now. Because this was interesting. This was cool. Oh, Killing Floor! Oh my god, why Killing Floor 1 can never be replaced? Thank you! I love Killing Floor. I played it for 67 hours, okay? I love Killing Floor. I would have played it more, but I eventually started playing with a friend, and then he didn't want to anymore, and... Well, you know... I love Killing Floor. Sequels that bring you back to the past, that also sounds interesting. Games that use your knowledge against you, yeah, Dead Space does that. The Art of Subversion, Dead Space does that a lot, where you would expect an enemy coming out of one corner, and then it doesn't, and it comes to you from the back, where you wouldn't expect it. Like, you already think, okay, subversion of expectations, you know, this is what horror media usually does. Enemy probably there, probably gonna jump scare me there, and then it doesn't, and it comes from the other direction. Or it comes like a minute later or something, or like a few seconds later. I love Dead Space for that so much. Games that took a dark turn. Games that fully embrace the medium, love that as well, love the topic. I actually like these topics a lot. This looks like a cool channel. The Witcher game, nobody played. The Witcher game that deserved better. You mean The Witcher Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales? I've never played it myself, but I know of it. I've been wanting to play it because it is another one of those top-down games. looks very attractive to me just from the get-go. Never played it, always wanted to, kept forgetting about it. And it is not one anyone ever talks about. Same with the Witcher adventure game. Nobody talks about that. Well, I mean, it's a very different kind of game. It honestly looks like a mobile game. What do you even do in this one? But it's also a Witcher game, okay? And nobody knows of this one. So, there you go. 2 more Witcher games for you hardcore collectors.